This Diocese of Houma Thibodeau program is brought to you by Crosby Tugs.
In this Sunday's gospel, Jesus ends with two images. The one of a guy who's built a building and has started to build but doesn't know whether or not he has enough resources to finish. Or a king who's being approached by another army and doesn't know if his army, which is half the strength, can beat the larger army. But before that, Jesus gets into a core experience to humanity. The onlookers would laugh at him and say, this one began to build, but did not have the resources to finish. I assure you, that hits a core part of our humanity. I don't want to look stupid in front of other people. And yet, in this gospel, Jesus Christ is pushing us towards what is the cost of discipleship. In our own experience, I don't want to look silly. I don't want to look foolish. I don't want to start and not be able to finish. I don't want to take my resources, my army out and have it be insufficient. Some of you will remember with me in our local community, there are two pretty notorious houses that were big things. They were supposed to be big things. And then suddenly it just kind of stopped. It was like the real life vision of this gospel. These people started to build. Now there's more in the story, right? I understand that, but these people started to build, did not have the resources to finish. The core of the response to this gospel is about the cost of discipleship. There is a quote, I believe it comes from G.K. Chesterton. People have abandoned Christianity, saying to themselves, we've tried it and found it lacking. But I say to you, it has been untried, and because it was found difficult. It was difficult and therefore left untried. What is the cost of discipleship? Another way to get at this, and this is the if you want to take something home to chew on for the week, is what part of your life does Jesus not have dominion over? What part of your life is Jesus not already the Lord of? Because here you have this experience that I used to do prison ministry, and this is a thing that's actually common amongst prisoners, is the idea that I'm going to become Christian, or I'm going to change my way of life. And if you slide back at all, your fellow prisoners might beat you up. And not just a little bit, like a lot, because you're abandoning them for the sake of the gospel, which is a thing you can do as long as you don't use it as a cover just to get out of your responsibilities to others. And the idea is you desire to be a Christian, but I fall short. And of course, y'all, that's gonna happen. I desire to be a Christian. I desire to be a saint, but sometimes I just fall short. What is the cost of discipleship? Our tradition is filled with people who paid a high cost for discipleship. The people Jesus is talking to in this gospel, they paid a high price for discipleship. Every one of the apostles, save for St. John, died the martyr's death. St. Paul died the martyr's death. St. Maximilian Kolbe gave up his life to follow Christ and then gave up his life to let somebody else live. St. Francis of Assisi gave up all of his life in order to follow Jesus. Now, is that the call for all of us? No. And if you look back at our tradition, if you look back at our history, if you look back reading the Acts of the Apostles, not everybody gives up everything to follow Christ. And in fact, many of the early apostles in the Acts of the Apostles, they keep their homes. They live their ordinary lives. They go to work, they come home, they worship on Sunday just like we do. Yet not all of them were called to the radical way of following Jesus that the apostles were, where they gave up everything. But there is a difference between the willingness to give up everything and the actual giving up of everything. The cost of discipleship is high, but the reward is Jesus. When you read this gospel, I think it's easy to see the defeatism in it, where you put yourself in the position of the person who for sure is not going to have enough money to finish the tower. No, 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 no. The cost may be high, but the result is the tower. The cost may be high, but the result is Jesus. This Lord is going to think about whether or not he can defeat an army that's twice as big as his. And maybe he can, but the cost may be high. Maybe his soldiers are great. Maybe they're awesome. What part of your life does the Lord not yet have dominion over? All of the sacrifices, very few of the sacrifices in the old temple were total sacrifices, meaning you brought the animal and they throw the whole thing on the altar and it's burned up and that's it, and that's gone. Most of them, the vast majority of them, a portion was taken and either poured on the altar or set on the fire. A portion was taken and was given to the priest of the temple, but the majority was returned for the use of the family. The cost of discipleship may be high, and there may be many things you have to give up. But there may be many things that the Lord will be asking you, are you willing to abandon? But he'll return to you for the sake of your using it for the building of the kingdom of God and for your continued edification and holiness. The cost of discipleship is high, but my friends, it is worth paying.
This Diocese of Houma Thibodeau program has been brought to you by Crosby Tugs.